Hi.
When I press it, all the select buttons come on, and it doesn't light up itself. There's something down on the bottom that is lit. It's called HP app. Is that not?
We are. I'll help move the table
That's
and
not
the
gonna.
candles are the covered.
Yeah. Yes, yes, and on the far right of it, there's a left, right, and underneath it, there's a on. It won't go on. Okay, just a second. Turn everything down. Doesn't matter. Could you ask Beverly what we're going to say this morning?
Okay.
Oh, okay, that might have been the problem.
check, check, check.
Rachel's mic works.
Oh, here, I'll try this one.
Okay, just a second, now we need to see the other ones. Wait a second. That's 9.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Check, 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 check.
Not that one. Wait a second, go ahead.
Check, check, check.
Yeah, there it is.
Check, 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 check. You just need to turn up louder, or?
I heard it.
Oh.
It's on full, so that's not working.
Hello, check, check.
Quite interesting. Although the service last week, halfway through your sermon,
Excuse me, Susan.
we lost the sound.
I just heard it.
Hello, check, check, check,
I was
check.
amazed that people, I didn't, usually I find out the day of. People were very kind, kept me out of the loop for 3 or 4 days. Good morning, Rachel. We do need to, I'll do this, and we'll get the table, and then
Yep.
Oh, no, did the sound go out?
it went out.
The sound went out halfway through her sermon.
Oh, no.
I kept going, waiting and waiting, and so I
Yeah.
you know, I came out. I went back in again a bit later on and sort of tried to fast forward through the bit, but it was out for the rest of the service. Yeah.
What I might do, we'll see if I can get to it this week, Sue, is publish it. You know, which is hard for me
Yeah.
because I improvise a lot.
Yeah.
I don't script my sermons out quite as cleanly
Yeah, well,
as,
have.
so I might try to get my act together and try to publish it.
Right. Is that enough?
I think it should be enough. I probably overfilled it.
That is, yeah. Ian would say that was overfilled.
He would say that.
Yes, he would say that, yes. Right.
Good morning, Miss Beverly. Are you regretting saying you come?
No, I was regretting that I wasn't able to come on Thursday, but I really have to be mindful of how I'm feeling.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, you know, that's a thing. If that's what you call it.
Can you try that?
It's a thing.
It's
Check,
really
check,
thing.
check, check.
Yeah, and I can, it's totally my fault. So it's feeling this configuration.
You gotta go with that.
Check, 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 check.
All right. I have everything, sort of. So super easy. So for the first one, I was thinking with break them on down.
There's 3 parts, right?
There's 3 parts. So I think. Well, it doesn't lend itself to 3 parts, right? So I'm thinking maybe if you could just lead, break 'em on down, break 'em on down. You do the main part with the congregation, and then Ian and I will come in with the second and third parts.
Okay.
I just, unless you think it would be beneficial to teach all 3 parts. Because I can do that.
Yeah, it takes a little more.
That's,
Because what I was going to suggest is that I lead, I'll do it together. I lead one side, you or Ian lead the other side, and then whoever's left brings in the 3rd part.
yeah, we could do that.
It's just a suggestion.
So that would mean teaching them 2 parts. It would be your part. What do you think?
Because it sort of lends itself to the lower voice, right?
No, he's the higher part.
I was going for
Which I think is easier because it's just break,
Yeah,
break 'em on down.
sure. Which one? Tone one?
Break.
Check,
Way
check, check,
easier than
check,
that
check.
one I would do, which is break these walls down.
Okay.
So I think that would probably be better, that one, the higher one.
Check,
And then I'll do the low.
check, check, check,
I was just keeping it easy for you. Just
check,
thinking that.
check, check.
Do what?
The first 2 parts.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, all 3.
I think that part.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will, would you like to teach the parts?
It's up to you.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
how you feel.
left, right button was up there.
I can teach the high part. Do you want to teach the main part?
Okay, let's do that.
Does that work?
Yep.
Because you're going to be reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on then?
At the beginning, we just, no, it's fine.
This is how we work, though.
It's like, we eventually, we're external talkers, so.
I know,
yeah.
processing outside. I know.
Yeah, you're very patient. So she'll teach the main part, then you and I will do the high part.
Sure.
I'll teach the high part.
Is it okay
You're
if
gonna
you
lead the
put
high
that
part.
discussion down over there?
Yes.
Yeah?
We were waiting.
Oh, you were just getting, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. Hello, hello. Check, check, check. Not working.
I should probably, I'm gonna stay somewhat here, except for teaching the high part, because then Beverly will need to, are you gonna take the mic? What are you gonna do? Gonna have to stand at the mic, right? Maybe stand there if you're going to do this. Actually, that's the bigger side. I'm thinking maybe they should be the main voice, and Ian, you should, the high should be over here. And then there is a lot, we'll just do it, I like the idea of it in the round, so, yeah, you'll take one section, we'll do it as a three-part round.
Sure.
Does that work for you guys? You okay?
Hello, well, that wouldn't have. Check. Check. Okay, so do you want me to just give you some levels?
Good morning, I'm Rachel. Hi, Keith.
Good morning. My name is Kelly. Are you checking your, where you're, okay, next one. So,
That one?
yeah, you're on this one.
Check, 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 check.
Check, 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 check.
I would love to.
We have sound.
Anything you want, that's the way you want it. Anything you want it. Yeah.
So Ian's going to do on break them on down. Is Ian going to be here?
You know what? It's gonna make more sense if you're at the dais. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine
I
with
think
me.
that works. I think that works. And then if you're here, and then I'm just gonna stick myself check here.
And so then when we do there's a look,
Now,
here and you'd be
yeah,
piano-wise.
yeah, because I'll definitely play for this one. This one I won't. We'll just, I don't know, it's somewhere around here. No. We can move it down if you guys want. Is this easy? Is the way we did it on Thursday, was it too high for you? Was it?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's why I say I do it. Right?
Is that too high?
Come on down, these walls between us break. Come on down, break on down these walls between us.
Perfect, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. Are you guys, is it okay if we kind of walk through it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do we need to walk down through it? I guess we'll just do. So you're gonna, what?
Just, we don't eat our classic. This is the whole
You know, it's a good thing.
cannibalism song.
We could.
Okay, so Ian, you're going to be there.
Sure.
Sound people. Sound people. Hi, for the prelude, Ian is going to be here because he's going to be doing a part with that side. And instead of moving the mics, we thought it would be easier to use the dais. Is that easier for you or no? Don't be sorry. Don't be. That's why I was taking it slow, because I'm like, you've got 20,000 things you're thinking of. Because he's leading that section
In a round.
in a three-parter.
It's just, visually, it will just be easier for folks over here, but if it's... that's probably okay. Is that okay? Just need to write it down.
That's what I thought. Yeah, this is for the break 'em on down. Morning, Miss Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Not for the prelude. Everything else I am. You know, whatever key you start in, I don't care.
Yeah. That's the beauty of singing without.
That's what I love about a cappella.
Just start wherever you want. Come on down, break, come on down. That feels comfortable.
I think that's good for most people.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Let's do it.
Okay. So I'm teaching to everyone that first part.
Yes, everyone's going to learn that.
Okay. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em down, down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us.
Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us.
Okay, so we've taught those things. Now we're going to put it all together. We're all going to start with the main, and then this side's going to sing the high, and I'm going to come in with a surprise at the end. Okay, so let's just try it. Let's do this when we sing it for real. It's very short, so 3 times, which means 6 times, right?
Okay. So my inclination in teaching would be to break up.
Yes,
this
of
into
course.
2 parts, right? Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on
Yep,
down.
of course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you guys are going to do it. I'm not going to come in right at the third repeat, or like right at the beginning of the togetherness. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to share 2 parts of this song, and then there will be a surprise. Right? So this is the first part. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. I didn't do what I just said I was going to do. First part. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us.
Break 'em on
Down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us.
Break 'em
Okay?
on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us.
And this is the second part that Ian's going to teach you.
Yeah, 2 halves. Again. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us.
Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down these walls between us. Right? Okay.
Then we will sing the
Sounds good.
song.
All right, there's love.
They have the kids.
So we're doing.
Yeah.
They have a song, the lyrics usually. Here, you'll know
Just
it.
piano.
And then I'll hop up and do
So
a prayer
it's,
for Rosh Hashanah. And we'll light our candles. That will take a bit of time.
I,
Then
you,
I'll do
us.
the readings, and I
Yeah,
can
me,
find
yeah.
the offerings. So our readings today.
Yeah.
Now,
They didn't have it in the actual written, but I remember us doing that, so
and then
that's how we've always, and I think even when Elizabeth taught it, that's how she did it, so I guess the printing was just wrong. We're gonna learn this all together, and then we're gonna break into 2 parts
Oh, it changes all.
as around.
We're very
So,
unpredictable people.
yeah, we'll get through it. Here we go.
You know, it's interesting how
Yeah, it's me playing and singing. Okay?
So you're teaching this one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they know it, but we'll just all go through it together before we break it up. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. Let's try that together. There is a love this love. Now we're going to break it up. Yeah. So, yeah. Beverly's going to lead this side. Ian, you're going to lead this side. So, how about we start? Ian, you start, and then Beverly, you come in second.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sure.
And we'll try it with I right now, and then we'll do you and we. I'll make sure, or us, right. So we'll just do it all the way through this time. Here we go. One, we're in a round now.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. There is a love holding me. There is a love
holding all that I love.
There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all I rest in this love. Okay, so if we're going to do this, I guess because you're starting, you're going to have to say you.
Yeah, I guess I'd be going the one who's going to be saying the new.
Actually, let me do the start. Let the congregation and you do the repeats. That's going to be easier because then I can lead I.
Okay.
You, us, and then I will just sing I rest in this love until we're all together, and then it'll just be easier to control the words because it's complicated enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try the round part. Here we go. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love.
Is it 2 parts or 3 parts?
It's 3.
3 parts. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, because I remembered you saying
I'll
1
start.
half there, 1 half here. So 3
Yes,
parts?
I'll
Okay.
start. Beverly will be 2 with that side. You'll be 3 with this side. Do you know where
Oh,
you know
okay,
where you
so
come
I
in,
understand
right?
now.
Okay,
so
good.
you do
Yeah,
it
I
by
just
yourself.
changed it
Okay.
because it's easier for me to yell out change of words
Okay,
and for us not to get lost in that, right? Okay. Sorry if I was confusing.
No, it's okay.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all that I love. I rest in this love. You. I rest in this love. Okay, what's wrong?
Okay.
It's not working, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to the original. Ian, you just sing all the way through, and I'll make sure before we start, I'll say it, and then we'll just hope for the best. Okay, let's not complicate it. We'll just do 1, 2, 3 the way we were doing it before. Ian, you'll
Okay.
start with the congregation. 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
There is a love holding me.
There is a love
holding all that I
me.
love.
There is a love holding all that I love.
I
There is a love holding all that I love. I rest in this
holding you.
I
There
rest
is a love holding all that you love. Yeah.
to Keith's question. Does it make more sense for just the three of us to do this rather than leading the
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking as I was doing. Yep.
Yeah, because I think when the words
Exactly.
come in, like we'd have to teach it carefully.
I know, and I was thinking as we were singing through it,
Yeah.
I don't think I want to.
Okay, that's fine. That's
I
great.
think it's going to sound lovely with it. If they know it, they're welcome to sing
Yeah,
it,
of course.
obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not going to do that. We're
Okay.
just going to keep it simple, stupid. You know the song I'm doing for offertory though?
What is it?
I'm doing that Making Waves that they did at the CUC conference. The guy wrote. It was the easiest thing I could find. Do you, we did the video. Do you remember? teach it.
Sure.
I will sing with you, just
Sure.
bump it up. Yeah, that sounds good.
And I will, these people,
Yes. And we're just going to say we're going to put it together. And, okay, so how about, yeah, you sing it once with your people, then you'll join, then I'll join, and then do you want to do it all the way through with, yeah, and then we're good. We'll laugh if it doesn't. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll laugh and cry.
Yep.
we dance, we sing a song, what is the song? Don't like in our head.
And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And then we have to. You ready for a service? You do.
Oh. Well, not clapping that there's no owl. We're clapping that we'll have another
Oh my
good
God, that's
bass one.
amazing. Oh, what a joy.
Yeah.
You just made my morning. Did you tell Cindy?
Oh, good.
It'll get there.
Fabulous. Oh my God, that's so amazing. You're going to have company.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're getting more and more as the year goes. We good? Did we get the thumbs?
So we have another heart distressor this morning. We're going to learn a song. We're going to sing it in parts. And you're going to do so well, just as you did last week. So there are 2 parts and then a surprise. So I'm going to have everybody sing with me first. This is like the main part. And then Ian is going to teach a second part here. And then you'll see what happens after that. Here we go. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. So it's the 2 lines, they're the same. Want to try it with me?
Yes.
Let's try everyone.
Can I hear it louder? Do you want to try it with her?
Yes, yes, say that with some enthusiasm. Okay, here we go. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Beautiful. Ian?
And then my section over here, I guess, is going to sing, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. And then it repeats again, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us.
Want to do it one more time?
Break,
I love you, Catherine. Okay.
break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us.
That sounded good.
Okay, here we go. Y'all are with me. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down, break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us. Break 'em on down, break 'em on down. Break 'em on down, these walls between us.
Us.
Woo!
Good morning. Oh, it's so good to be with you this morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. Welcome to those gathered in the sanctuary and those joining us online this morning. We are delighted and thrilled that you are here with us today. As we settle into our seats and prepare for worship this morning, I invite you to take a moment and ensure that your electronic devices are quieted. You might know this already, but my name is Jamie Boyce. My pronouns are she, her, and I am honored to be this morning's service leader. We start our service this morning in the spirit of gratitude for all those who bring our service alive today. Rachel Derry, Director of Music Ministries on piano and vocals. Thank you. With music ministers, Ian Cunningham, Beverly Horton. Did I miss anyone? Beverly Horton? No. Okay, just two. Ian Challenger. Thank you, Ian. Ian Challenger. Our tech team today, John Elliott, Cindy Carey, Kelly Wolf, Chase Tapley, and our worship associate this morning. Welcome back, Sue Johnston. We love having you with us. And our ushers this morning, Daphne Payne and Marion Sneed. We are grateful for your service and your invitation to welcome us into our space this morning. We also thank our leader of religious exploration, Tim Versteeg. Thank you for your time and talent this morning leading our young people in religious exploration. I have a few announcements this morning. So, oh good, new people are arriving just in time. From the Climate Action Team, there we go, thanks. Today is the day, and next Sunday too. The Climate Action Team invites you to share your climate actions, large and small. You are invited to share your actions on sticky notes and attach them to the footprint right outside the sanctuary. Let's cover the footprint with actions and inspirations. And if you're not attending our service today, you can send in your action to climate@uuhamilton.ca. We have an announcement from Martin Dooley that due to lack of youth enrollment, that they are canceling OWL for grades 7 and 9 this church year, but it will return next year, so just stay tuned. From Paul Hawkins this morning, don't forget the first annual Chaplain Roy G. Dahl Labyrinth Walk is Saturday, September 30th at 10:25 a.m. at St. Joseph Hospital. Join Paul Hawkins and friends for a time of remembrance and renewal on the anniversary of Roy's death. From the Visitor and Congregational Engagement Team, Sunday, September 24th, after the service, we will have a group photo for the whole church, or those who consent to have their picture taken right outside our side entrance. Join us for the festivities and get your picture taken for our church brochure. Today, feast and fete with your queer siblings at the Queer Joy Potluck directly after service in room 9. As you head down towards Fellowship Hall, the Queer Joy groups meets monthly on the third Sunday for fun and connection. Finally, get your calendars out. This is really important. On Wednesday, September 20th, at 11 a.m., we will join a solidarity action supporting transgender and trans-questioning kids, their families, and teachers at the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, which is being targeted by a hate group. More information will be sent out in a special all-church email on Tuesday. Let's join together to protect our communities and make sure there's no space for hate in the Hammer. Stay tuned. Let's light our chalice. Each time we gather, we light a chalice It reminds us that we are entering sacred space and sacred time together. It reminds us of our connection to Unitarian Universalists all over the world and the promise of hope, love, and justice to change the world. Please join me in our unison words. May this flame be our light of friendship and love. I acknowledge that the city of Hamilton is situated upon the ancestral land of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga people on Treaty 3 territory. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the life and land of the Great Lakes. As a settler on these shores, I benefit from a legacy of colonial violence against people in the earth. As a settler, I inhabit a living commitment to caring for creation with reverence for the interdependence of the earth and all her people, and to work for systemic and institutional change. Today is a really special day. It is my great joy to welcome to our sanctuary Reverend Keith Kron from the Unitarian Universalist Association. Reverend Keith is the director of the Transitions Office for the UUA, helping congregations and ministers as they navigate the ministerial search process. He is the former director of the Office of Bisexual, Gay, Lesbian, and Transgender Concerns for the Unitarian Universalist Association. He held that position for over 14 years, from 1996 till 2010. Keith has visited over 450 UU congregations across the continent, helping them with welcoming congregational work, beyond categorical thinking workshops, and public witness. A former elementary school teacher, Keith has also taught an online class for Star King School for the Ministry, our UU seminary in Berkeley, on children's literature. He also leads workshops on the Enneagram, plays and teaches tennis, and collects children's books in his spare time. And just hold this. He has over 9,000 of them. Your library, Keith, must be your whole house, maybe. Keith is 62 and currently lives in Providence, Rhode Island. It is my great joy, and please join me in welcoming Reverend Keith to our sanctuary this morning.
We are called to worship with these words from Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Robert Fulgham. To be human is to be religious. To be religious is to be mindful. To be mindful is to pay attention. To pay attention is to sanctify existence. May our time together be a time to sanctify the existence of our lives and of life around us. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. I invite you, as you are able and willing, to rise in body and or spirit.
We are building Let's build a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
For our Time for All Ages, we are going to hear Penelope's story. The story is We Don't Eat Our Classmates. It's by Ryan T. Higgins. Penelope Rex was very nervous. It's not every day a little T-Rex starts school. What are my classmates going to be like? Will they be nice? How many teeth will they have? These were all very important questions to Penelope. Penelope's mom bought her a new backpack with ponies on it. Ponies were Penelope's favorite because ponies are delicious. Penelope's dad packed her a lunch of 300 tuna fish sandwiches and 1 box of apple juice. And finally, the big day came. And Penelope Rex was very surprised to find out that all of her classmates were children. So she ate them. Because children are delicious. Penelope Rex, said Mrs. Noodleman, we don't eat our classmates. Please spit them out at once. So she did. It was not the best way to start school. Still, Penelope was determined to have a very good first day. She tried so hard to make friends at recess, but standing at the bottom of the slide with her mouth open didn't help. She thought she finger painted some of her best work, but the picture of the dinosaur eating the child didn't win her any friends either. She even saved Griffin Emery a seat at lunch next to her. Here, you can sit here next to me, she said. He didn't. And Penelope started to notice that everyone was making friends but her. And it was lonely. When she got home, her dad asked about her first day of school. I didn't make any friends, Penelope cried. None of the children wanted to play with me. Penelope Rex, did you eat your classmates? Well, maybe, sort of, just a little bit, she said. Sometimes it's hard to make friends, said her dad, especially if you eat them. You see, Penelope, children are just like us on the inside, only tastier. And this gave Penelope a lot to think about. So the next day at school, Penelope tried really hard. But poor Penelope, she couldn't stop herself from eating her classmates. Mrs. Noodleman, Penelope ate William Amoto again. She spit him out, but all the children were still afraid of her. Except for Walter. Walter was the goldfish. So Penelope decided to try and make friends with him. Will you be my friend, she said, as she stuck her finger into the bowl. And Walter looked at his finger and went chomp. Eee, cried Penelope, he's eating my finger. Wah! Once Penelope found out what it was like to be someone's snack, she lost her appetite for children. She stopped eating her classmates, even when Cece Woodman spilled barbecue sauce all over herself. And soon Penelope began to make friends. They played hide and seek. She even made Brownties, which she helped make, which she shared. And now, even when children look especially delicious, she peeks at Walter and remembers what it's like when someone tries to eat you. And Walter the goldfish stares right back, and he licks his lips. Because dinosaurs are delicious. That ends our story.
We'll sing the kids out. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
I invite us to drop into a time of reflection, meditation, and prayer. We are in the presence of the Jewish high holidays, and I offer this meditation from Reverend Lynn Cox, Prayer of Turning at the New Year. Spirit of life, source of love, you who know our struggles and failures as well as we know them ourselves, be with us as we enter into this time of reflection. Give us the courage to travel through a moral inventory of our lives, to notice the places where we have missed opportunities to live our values, to acknowledge the times when we have done harm. Inspire us with the will and means to change for the better. Guide us to make amends where we can. Turn us towards life in the coming year, a life of growth, a life of compassion, a life of learning from experience. Eternal One of blessing, we ask these things not only in our individual lives, but also in our communal life. Lead us to fresh understanding of systemic oppression, of dehumanization, of callous disregard for the neighbors we have failed to acknowledge. Open our hearts to the words and ideas of those most impacted, and join our hands in the work of rebuilding this world from love. Beloved, unseen, there are those among us and connected to us who are suffering. Guide us to join you in the spirit of kindness, to support systems of care, and to offer our presence when we can. We pray for all who are affected by police violence. We pray for refugees around the world and for all those affected by unjust immigration policies. We pray for those resisting totalitarianism. We pray for those bearing witness to the destruction of their way of life through ecological destruction. We pray for those who are ill, who are grieving, who are struggling, who are seeking recovery, who are working to make a change. Let your love wash over them and us, and bring us into life-giving, life-sustaining relationship. singer of skies and mountains and pastures in this season of turning towards life, remind us to be grateful and to celebrate joy where we find it. We lift up our loved ones who have achieved milestones. We give thanks for the beauty of this day, for this community, and for the opportunity to be together again. This space holds the entirety of our lives, the highs and lows. With all these things in our hearts, we continue our prayer in silence. Amen, and blessed be. Now is the time in the service where we light the candles of community. As you are called, you are invited to come forward and light a candle of joy, of sorrow, of remembrance, of gratitude. Now is the time in this service where we share the joys and sorrows of community. If you have a joy or sorrow to share on a Sunday morning, you can visit our Joys and Sorrows table tucked in the corner with a red candle calling you forward. Or you can send me an email or click on the Joys and Sorrows button on the front page of our website. Today is a day of joys. We have a joy from Joanne and Al Tunnicliffe, who share that on September 6th, they celebrated their 54th anniversary by going hiking and canoeing in Kilnari. Hiking and canoeing, the things you love most. Yeah. We have a joy from Barb Wallace, who joins us online this morning. Barb shares that she had knee replacement just 2 weeks ago, making good progress and recovering well. Hopefully she'll get the bandage removed soon. And she shares that she has felt your love, especially during this season of recovery. She thanks you for your support, the meals, the calls, and her words, the great vibes that you have sent her direction. She looks forward to seeing us in church soon. A joy from Sue Stewart Green and John Green, who share that yesterday their son Jesse Green married Rebecca Durrance Hine at Unicamp. The whole extended family, including all 3 sons and grandchildren, were all in attendance, and it was a most joyful day for everyone there, and the perfect day at Unicamp. We have a joy from Ginny Megan. Ginny shares that her daughter, Emily Margulies, who recently received her PhD in nursing. Emily grew up here in this congregation, and many of you will remember her. Her parents, Ginny and Tony, had the joy of being present as she defended her dissertation on the moral experiences of nursing students during clinical placements. We wish her continued success and definitely celebrate that achievement among us. Congratulations. Yeah. I know Ginny is still in Ottawa and might be joining us online, so she likely is appreciative of the round of applause. Finally, I have a joy to share with you. I want to thank everyone who showed up and participated in yesterday's Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop with Reverend Keith. We had a full room here and lots of folks online, and it was a great day together. And I want to thank especially the tech team, Chase and Claire, who made it possible for our online participants to attend, and to Tim and Audrey, who provided childcare during the day. Thank you, everyone, for your time and commitment. It was a day of joys. And I know there are sorrows among us that are too tender yet to share. Let us hold those in the presence of this beloved community and remind each other that you are never alone, and we are here for you. Keith has offered us a reading for our day today, and it's called this: Unclenching. Kind of makes you want to relax just hearing it, right? Unclenching by Keith Kron. It was a nearly perfect summer day for a walk, And I wasn't alone. My favorite sighting on my street in Providence was a woman walking her adorable French bulldog down the street. I heard, "Good boy, Luke," several times as she pulled slightly on the leash to keep Luke from being too distracted. Around the corner comes a man with a pit bull. Luke immediately goes stock still. The pit bull is wagging her tail with the greatest of hope and charm, clearly excited about the possibility of a new friend. She certainly won me over. The woman tries to get Luke to move forward, in vain this time, as the French bulldog is playing statue. Eventually, the man with the pit bull reaches the woman and her dog. If possible, the French bulldog gets even stiffer. The woman is trying to say to Luke that it's okay, and the pit bull sniffs hopefully and inquisitively at her new best friend. And then, in an instant, Luke relaxes and sniffs back. And quickly their tails are all a-wagging, and the sniffs and the snuzzles and the snorts. I notice the owners have relaxed and then have unclenched, and they are now talking amiably. Though, near as I can tell, their tails are not wagging with the same veracity as their pets. It's only then that I realize that I had been clutching, and I feel my body relaxing. I left the happy foursome and headed off, thinking how much of a metaphor this has become for today's times, how we all seem to be living lives in trepidation, and yet hope and kindness are out there if we look beyond the stereotypes, if we present ourselves with kindness, if we just try. I thought about what reputations pit bulls have, and yet she was the kindest of them all. Maybe in these difficult and trying times, we need to be more like the pit bull in whatever ways we can, offering a little hope and kindness to those new friends we might make along the way. Now is the time in the service when we will receive the gifts of the congregation with our offering. I invite you to give joyously and generously as you are called.
This song is called Making Waves, and it was written for the CUC conference in 2020. I think we did the online at that point, and it's by James Morris out in Halifax. Making Waves. We all join together like waves on the shore, searching for... I'm going to start that again, because I've noticed that I need new glasses and I can't see a blessed thing anymore. Here we go. We all join together like waves on the shore, each in our own special way. Some come searching for reason and justice. Some seek grace and the pleasures of play. There are waves of compassion that help ease our way, with mercy in times of despair. There are waves of vision that open our eyes as the clear morning air. We are sailing on the waves that we make, waves of wonder and joy. We are sailing on rivers of hope, days making ways. Many can offer the wisdom of age, and others the passage of youth. Some come dreaming of building connections. Some seek peace or a moment of truth. There's a tide that raises all boats in the sea, embracing the will to be free. There are waves of spirit that bridge each to all, and we breathe. In the essence of love, we are sailing on the waves that we make, waves of wonder and joy. We are sailing on rivers of hope, spending our days. We are sailing. We are sailing on the waves that we make, waves of wonder and joy. We are sailing in rivers of hope, spending our days making waves. Yeah, spending our days making waves. Spending our days making waves.
Thank you for your gifts to support the ministries of this congregation.
I've been thinking for a while about the future of religion. Certainly, during the global timeout of the pandemic, we all had a lot of time to think. But I actually started thinking more about the future of religion before the pandemic. I had been in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and just after I had visited there, news of the sex scandal in the Roman Catholic Church made the news, uncovering the history of so many people who had been abused by priests. And then, just 2 months later, a man walked into a synagogue, opened fire, and killed 11 people. And it made me wonder, why does anyone trust religion at all? It is a place of great unsafety. But then I'm reminded of our call to worship, the words from Robert Fulghum, that to be human is to be religious, and that to be religious is to be mindful is to pay attention, and that to pay attention is to sanctify existence, and that we are all carrying religious questions. And where do we create the place for that to happen, and how? When I came into this position in 2010, one of the first things I got to do was to be a part of training new interim ministers. And I asked them to think about, what is it a congregation needs from an interim minister? I got the responses that you will expect. They need someone to help them get ready for the new minister. They need someone to help them look at some things differently, someone to help them figure out what kind of church they would like to be. Good preaching was mentioned, good pastoral care. But what intrigued me, what was not mentioned? For the first several years that I did this training, not a single minister said, not a single interim minister said, we need to be a place where trust is built, where we do no harm to one another. And then as I thought about that, it occurred to me, I've never heard a congregation say that's what it wanted from a minister. That we want to be someone who we build trust with, who we collaborate with, where we work to strive to do no harm. And I think about the world and what's going on and all that has happened. Think about the discovery of the graves here in Canada of the Indigenous people. I think about the trucker convoy in Ottawa. I think about the attempted insurrection in the United States. Think about the war in Ukraine. I think about the shootings that have happened all over the United States, especially in schools and churches. On my way here, I flew into Buffalo and I drove by the grocery store where the man opened fire. And it made me wonder, what is the role of religion in these moments? What is it that we are called to be? How do we show up in the world at this moment? How do we build and rebuild trust in the world, in our country, in religion, in Unitarian Universalism, and in each other? The first thought that came to me is we start by simply showing up, even when we don't know what to do. It was 25 years ago, in 2 weeks, when a young man named Matthew Shepard was tied to a fence and left to die in Laramie, Wyoming. The minister of our congregation in Laramie asked if I would come, if I would participate with them as they tried to make sense of this senseless violence and hate. He said, I'd like you to say a few words, and then we'll go to the fence where Matthew was killed and lay down some flowers. I booked my flight and headed out west. That Sunday morning at our congregation in Laramie, Wyoming, the minister read a letter that someone had sent to the congregation, turned to me and addressed the congregation by saying, and now Reverend Kron will lead the sermon for this morning. I had not prepared a sermon for that morning, so I offered what I'm sure were some random thoughts. But it was more important just to be there during this time. Later, when we went out to the fence, we stopped at the grocery store, we picked up some flowers, about 30 of the people from the congregation, then the minister and myself stood by the fence. The minister laid some flowers down next to the fence and then said, and now Reverend Kron will lead the memorial service for Matthew Shepard. Again, I have no memory of what I said. We'll always remember standing next to that fence and being with the people together, trying to make sense of senseless violence. Later, I asked the minister about what had happened. And thankfully, he apologized. He said, this is my first year here at this congregation, my first year in ministry. I literally had no idea what to do. And I said, in moments like this, most of us have no idea what to do. But we can show up and be together and be present with each other and give a response that says, this is not who we want to be. It was later that year that I had been offered to be the guest preacher at our congregation in Littleton, Colorado. The congregation in Littleton, Colorado is named Columbine UU Congregation. I was the guest preacher just 3 weeks after the shooting at the high school. I walked in and saw one of the most incredible things I have seen in my 27 and a half years at the UUA. Because in that sanctuary, the walls of the sanctuary were covered with pictures and letters from UUs across the continent, offering hope, courage, and love to these people. And I thought, this is how we witness to the world. We show up in these moments. We show that we matter. The author and speaker Brené Brown talks about how trust is not built in big moments, but it's actually built in the little moments, like showing up for one another. And that made me think, if it's built in these little moments, it's broken in little moments. And I'm reminded of when I was in seminary, I took a class on death and dying. The class was taught by Anna, who was a Holocaust survivor, a graduate of the seminary, who was a chaplain who worked with young people contemplating suicide. The class on death and dying was maybe one of the most important classes I took. And there was one day where she asked us to practice being a chaplain. Everyone volunteered to be the patient. No one wanted to be the chaplain, because the patient was someone who was close to death, could barely move, could barely speak. And she talked to us about showing up in a place where we had no idea what to do. But eventually, one other classmate volunteered to be the chaplain, went over next to the patient, sat down next to the patient, reached over and took the patient's hand. At which point, Anna stood up and said to the chaplain and to the class, "Please don't ever do that again." We were all surprised, and we all turned and looked at Anna. But she had been waiting for this moment. She said, "I want you to think about this. Here is a patient who literally has no control over his life, no control over his body, and you took his hand without asking him if it was okay. What would that moment have been like if you had asked him, could I take in your hand, and given him some power, some agency to have control over at least one part of his life? But he had none of it in the rest of that life. She said, a little harm happened when you took away that control from him. Always remember that story in all my years of ministry. I think about how the world changed during the pandemic, and indeed 2 years into the pandemic, I had a dream. And in the dream, I am on the side of a mountain, and I am clinging to it. And eventually I look around, and there is another person next to me clinging to the mountain, who looks over at me and asks, "Would you tie my shoe for me?" And then I look over to the side, and I see a minister who works for me, not you, who says, "Can you find me a congregation to go and serve where people will treat me nicely and like what I do in ministry?" And then the mountain begins to erupt, and lava begins to flow out. And as I look around, terrified, I see the volcano is being clung to by hundreds of thousands of people. It so felt like a metaphor for what we were going through for so much of the pandemic. Trying to hang on, trying to be normal, and yet the world was different. How are we different now that we're at this place in our recovery? One of the things that happened during the pandemic is we actually asked our ministers to work harder. They became tech people in addition to being ministers. Near as I can tell, there was not a single congregation who asked the minister to do more, who paid them more. It's also true for our staff. In part, I think it's because we were all hanging on. And the reality is, I think we're still hanging on. Still trying to figure out what is next. What does it mean? How are we going to show up? I mean, one of the great joys is being here with you in person, having led the workshop yesterday. Actually being with people, creating a space for the people who are yet unable or don't feel uncomfortable to participate, and the people who can be here to participate. Because one of the things we learned during the pandemic is that people really need one another, and that people really suffered by isolation. This was so especially true of our children and our next generations. And I think about our congregations, what does it mean for our future? What can be next? And I look at the fact that every denomination I talk to, losing members, shortage of ministers, we are actually suffering less than most every other denomination in North America. And yet people are leaving religion because it no longer serves their purpose. What is the purpose that religion could serve? I actually think we are the religion that is most poised to welcome people now. Like many of you, I came to Unitarian Universalism from another religion. I came having grown up a Southern Baptist. I was fairly convinced once I went to college that I was never going to step foot in a church again. And then I met a UU minister at a bar, at a gay bar. And I thought, well, this religion is different. And he was there on a Saturday night and had to preach the next morning. So I showed up the next morning in 1984 and have been a Unitarian Universalist ever since. But I came in so wounded by the theology of my Southern Baptist church. And I think about the opportunity that Unitarian Universalism provide. You actually get to build your own theology. You get to learn from other people. You are a part of your own journey. And yet, I've also watched a congregation try and take this too far. We had one congregation in the States that tried to vote that it had an official theology. Humanism. The vote failed. But it just made me wonder, where do we get as rigid as the fundamentalists? Because there are places where we can be as rigid as the fundamentalists. This could be our golden moment instead. We could be a place where new people will show up because we are multi-theological in a way that no other religion is multi-theological. We're not fighting over queer and trans people. We're fighting for queer and trans people. We're working on racism, ableism, inclusivity, in ways that so much of the rest of the religious world is at best trying to keep up, or at worst trying to suppress. We are trying to make a difference in the wider world, in our communities. There's this great church sign in Philadelphia where the interim minister has placed on the sign, "Make friends, grow your spirit, make a difference." That's what I think people will be looking for in coming back to a congregation, a place where they can make a difference, where they can grow their spirit, and where they can find like-minded people. That could easily be us. Yesterday in the workshop, we talked about the Nigerian author. I mentioned the Nigerian author. My favorite quote of hers, she talks about the danger of the single story. And she says, the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but they are incomplete. And they are incomplete because they limit people to a single story. Each of us know that none of us in this room are a single story, and yet I watch in our congregations how often we do harm by placing someone as a single story. Maybe this is the moment when we invite others to hang on and hang out with us, whoever they are. I was talking with a UU minister who had talked to a Mormon. And when the Mormon had learned that she was a Unitarian Universalist minister, he said, you know, if you all were really religious, you could be dangerous. She got a little defensive about that, but then she thought, let me find out what he means. So she asked him, what do you mean when you say that? And he said, well, you know, I've been to UU congregations a couple of times, and contrary to what you might think, Mormons are actually Universalists in many ways. We are not that different from you in some of our theology. And yet when I walk into a UU congregation the two times, one of the things that you seem to want to do is to welcome all people, which you do better than we do. But you also welcome all behaviors. And some of those behaviors actually harm some of the people who are in your congregation. I've watched UUs actually be mean to one another because they didn't believe the exact same theology or thing that they believed. I would like us to be more dangerous, because I think that's what it means. And that story reminded me, a friend of mine at the UUA was visiting his son just outside of Cleveland. His son had grown up UU, had kind of stopped going, but my friend was taking his son and two of his friends to a Cleveland baseball game. And they drove by our congregation on the west side of Cleveland. And they saw, as they drove past, a huge Black Lives Matter sign. They saw a welcoming congregation flag. Words that said, all are welcome here. And immediately the three 20-year-olds began talking to each other. If I were going to go to a church, that's the kind of church I would want to go to, they said. And so in talking with my friend, I said, well, what do you think would happen if they actually did show up at the church? What would the congregation do with three people in their 20s? They would hear that they are welcomed. But would they be asked to be there and act like all of the 60 and 70-year-olds who are in the congregation? To give like all the 60 and 70-year-olds who are in the congregation? To participate in 4 committees like all the 60 and 70-year-olds in the congregation? We often do the same for our Indigenous, Black, and people of color who show up into our congregations. I've heard stories of congregation who literally asked a new visitor if they would like to be on the congregation's board of trustees. After just 2 weeks. The worst story I heard was from an African-American minister friend of mine who'd showed up one morning as the guest preacher. If we don't think we do harm, listen to this story. He showed up, dressed in a suit, with his sermon, walked into the building, met by a greeter sitting at the table who looked up and said to him, "Are you here to clean the building this morning?" I can tell you, having been in 450 congregations, I've never shown up and been asked to clean a building. How do we really welcome the people who are coming, seeking this multi-theological, this, in theory, very welcoming place? And will we allow our faith to be more than a single story? Will we continue to do harm in little or big ways? Can we do these little acts of violence, or can we strive to be something different? How do we unclench? How do we do no harm? How do we pay attention? How do we sanctify existence? One of the ways I see that happening is in so many congregations, I walk in and there is one, often more, person trying to show me they are the smartest person in the room. And I wonder, can we be classmates together? Can we just show up and learn from each other? Because everyone is more than a single story, and everyone's life has something they can teach us. Can we just show up and listen? Just be together? Can we make a difference? Can we disagree with each other without having someone walk away? One of my favorite stories from seminary, the dean of our school sat with the other deans of the other 7 schools of the Graduate Theological Union, was telling the story of being in a meeting where he and the dean of the American Baptists were disagreeing with each other. And he said what intrigued me more intrigued him more than anything else. He said all the other deans were trying to make it better, trying to fix it. And he finally looked at the other deans and said, well, you know, Jeff and I just disagree. We're going to be friends. We're even going to lunch after this. I'd rather hear what you have to say so that we can make a collective decision. Because I trust the wisdom of all of us. I wonder if we can be more like that. A final story from when I was the director of the Office of Bisexual, Gay, Lesbian, and Transgender Concerns, and then I'll close. It was in my first year on the job. I had been invited to a conference on gender, religion, and sexuality. There were 40 denominations represented. This was back in 1997. And I found myself on the first day in this long panel dais, seated between John from the Church of God and Mark from the Church of Christ. They're passing the microphone along, and John gets the microphone, and John says, "Hi, my name is John. I'm from the Church of God, and we are to the right of the right." People giggle in the audience. He hands the microphone to me, and I take a breath, and I go, "Hi, I'm Reverend Keith Kron. I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister who directs the Office of Bisexual, Gay, Lesbian, and Transgender Concerns." At which point, I have to stop talking because John and Mark are scooting their chairs away from me. And then I say, and we are to the left of the left. I then have to pitch the microphone to Mark because he won't take my hand, take it from me in my hand. We spent 4 days talking about all things around gender, religion, and sexuality. They were surprised that we had more women ministers than men, even back then. They were surprised that we openly ordained gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people, that we even had a curriculum that taught our young people about sexuality and that had positive things to say about it. On the last day, John and Mark and 2 of his friends, probably named Matthew and Luke, I don't remember, came up to me and said, "We would like to have lunch with you." And I thought, well, this will be fun. But everything is a learning opportunity. Let's be curious about the world. And having grown up a Southern Baptist, what they were going to say was not going to be a surprise. So we had lunch. And we sort of had nervous conversation before Mark finally said, "We've been talking and we wanted to tell you something. We have listened to what you said, and we wanted you to know that we have disagreed with every single word that has come out of your mouth. But we also wanted you to know that we respect you, because at least you are clear about what you believe. And that is a value that we hold dear. So while you will probably never be welcome in our congregations, we might, outside of church, be friends and talk to one another." And in that moment, they were teachers for me about how we can show up with each other, being more than a single story. And I had this opportunity with them just a minute later because we were in Tennessee. I'd gone to the University of Tennessee. They asked me if I knew anything about football. And they were stunned that I actually knew more about football than all four of them, and had actually worked my way through college officiating football games. And I got to be more than a single story for them. I don't know if they think about that story, of that moment, but I think about that all the time. Because everyone is an opportunity, regardless their identity, regardless of where they come from, to be our teachers, a way for us to learn from each other. And maybe we can do that by committing to do no harm, to be religious with each other, to show up, to pay attention, to not eat our classmates, to sanctify existence. This is my wish for you and for all of Unitarian Universalism, that as we go forth into whatever future religion might hold, that we strive to become a place of no harm, a place that sanctifies existence. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 159, "This Is My Song." Please rise in body and or spirit as you are willing and or able.
This is
Please be seated. The words for the benediction and the extinguished chalice come from the house at Pooh Corner. Piglet sidled up next to Pooh and took Pooh by the paw. Yes, Piglet? Pooh asked. Nothing, said Piglet. I just wanted to be sure of you. May we go forth being sure of each other, go in peace, go in love, work for justice, go forth and bless the world.
Keith, we can't go without giving you a gift. You need some Canadian Unitarian Universalist swag to take home with you so you can remember to come back and visit us sooner. When was the last time you were in Canada?
I was in Vancouver last year.
Last year. Well, you have to come back to Ontario.
Yep.
So here is a swag bag from us to you. Thank you for being with us, sharing your wisdom, and bringing us your presence this weekend. We are so grateful.
Thank you.
Sing along if you know this, and even if you don't. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love
Holding all that is
holding me. I rest in this
holding
love.
I
There is a love holding all that you me. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love
holding all
holding me. I rest in this holding us. There is a love holding all that we us. There is a love holding all that we love. We raise a love
holding all that we
holding
love.
us. We
There
rest
is a love
in this
holding